This project originally started as a grant application. We didn't get the grant. We decided it was important enough we were going to do it anyway. For us, it was really important on two fronts. Number one was, as we're seeing the shift in education with the Common Core standards and stuff, we are really seeing a different conversation about, and this is Cody Heidschmidt. Some of you know Cody. Several of you may know Cody. He's our marketing director, but more importantly, Cody is actually an entrepreneur. He has started businesses, been very successful in businesses, went out of business in business. Yeah. So, you know, that's kind of the mark of the true entrepreneur. And so Cody will have a lot to add to this today, but we're really seeing a movement, and I'm going to show you a short video here, a 15-minute video that I think will really hit home with you about what's going on in the world of education today. And the guy that does it is a guy named Tony Wagner. And he has done a ton of research working with businesses about what do we need from our graduates today. And he makes the comment, nobody cares what you know anymore. They only care about what you can do with what you know. And so this, that was the educational side of this project. The other side of this project is over the last 5-7 years, we've done a lot of stuff with rural communities because being here at STAC, we have 59 member districts. And the thing we saw in common with most of them is they're going out of business in slow motion. We're losing population. Hutch is growing, McPherson is growing a little bit. You know, where the population centers are, we're seeing some growth, and we're seeing decline almost everywhere else. That's not always true for everybody. It's not true every year, but the trend is downhill. And so we started looking at entrepreneurship stuff, and Kauffman Foundation did a study, and it was real interesting. They found 42% of all Americans live in rural communities. They're just spread all over creation, so there's a lot of them. But 98% of new jobs being created in rural communities are by entrepreneurs. And if I'll actually tell you the event that launched this thinking. I was invited to speak at the honors banquet for the league that Otis Bison is in. I don't even know what league it is. Do you? Max, you should know that.
I don't.
Of all people,
I know
you should.
Mark, but I don't know.
So, well, they blew my speech because I had always been under the impression that most of our kids couldn't wait to graduate and leave and go to a city. So I asked them that night, I said, how many of you plan on moving to a city when you've finished your post-secondary experience? I expected almost every hand to be up. Actually, I asked it just the opposite. How many of you would like to come back to a rural community after you finish your... And I thought, nobody's going to raise their hand. Almost every kid raised their hands, boys and girls. Well, it totally blew my speech because I've been all prepared for them to all say we want to get out of here. But I came back and we had a conversation here. I said, you know, we have always functioned under the idea our kids wanted to leave and not come back. I'm not sure that's true. But if they're going to come back, there's got to be a way to make a good living. And that became the issue. I'd like to come back. I'd like to raise my family here. We see a lot of kids leave and about 27 or 28 start coming back for the quality of life stuff. There's nothing to do. So those two things have really played into the thinking around this project. So we've done a lot of brainstorming. Cody and I have talked a lot about this kind of stuff. And then one day I was at Walton Elementary School. Have any of you visited Walton Elementary? Great little school to go. It's in the Newton District, and it's an agricultural-themed elementary school. They raise livestock. They have a greenhouse. I mean, they sell eggs. They sell salsa that they make. Their kindergartners make lip balm, and they sell it. And we started having a discussion about this whole idea of what if we had a contest to see who could sell the most stuff. But we need a common product so that that's not the issue. Okay? That's kind of the path we went down. So I got the recipe and stuff from Walton, and we decided to launch into this product. Now, what we really would like to see happen is your kids really do a nice job of selling lip balm, but then turn around and say, but what else might they sell? Products, services might they sell? Because once they have the skills to sell the lip balm, they can sell anything, can't they? They've got the marketing, the branding, the web development, whatever piece of that they enjoy doing. So that's kind of what led to this project. So let me pause. Questions that you guys might have about that or thoughts that you have? By the way, nothing that we're doing is written in stone, probably other than lip balm's the product. Okay? Okay, what do we got called?
Well, has anyone ever heard of chicken poop? Mm-hmm. Chicken poop called, it's now the top selling chapstick line in the United States. They call it lip junk. Because balm is the word of the FDA. Balm is claiming medical. Mm-hmm. So, in sense, this literally chicken poop like lip junk is what they call it. You can sell things to people to put them on their lips. You just can't use the word
balm. Okay. And this is kind of exactly the point. Educationally, we've been really good about teaching kids about running a business, but when you actually run a business, you run into all of these kinds of issues that you got to deal with. We want the kids to run into those issues now, and they're going to make mistakes, aren't they? They're going to fail. They're going to do some wrong. They're going to make some wrong steps. Now's the time to learn, though, when the stakes aren't so high.
I think to me that's the biggest thing of it, because I literally nearly ruined the marriage, lost the house, and was embarrassed beyond belief. The first business that I ran, I learned all these things. I ran this project too with myself, and it was kind of an online business, and I lived out in the country, so it was a rural online business contest, and I freaking lost. But it was my money, but
the stakes were a lot higher.
These guys, same kind of stakes I had. People are fun to come and take your house. But the things I learned from that, I literally give presentations now where I call that my 7 years of getting an MBA. And I don't know how to justify that other than the fact that the next 3 businesses worked and worked pretty well, and I was able to sell 2 of them. And I think kids having that experience of, they can screw it up, learn from it. Other than I also like that there'll be other teams, so there are a little bit of consequences just in the pride factor of we're not winning right now. But no one's going to come and take their car or their house but the lessons learned were just invaluable. I have no education background, but I love this concept of teaching in this real world environment where there's real hate to use winning, real, but it is. It's just the losing side of it. It's just we didn't get the trophy or whatever. It's not a horrible experience. I think it's why sports sometimes provides great life lessons, because you have a winning and a losing, but you really don't have the dire consequences of schools there to protect you from the real gnarly consequences of losing in the game of life, right? So I'm excited as heck about this, and I've seen schools around doing entrepreneurial things, and the kids are just across the board more engaged, more excited. They're the type of projects where the teacher's like, okay, gotta go home, guys. We gotta call this quits, and that's an awesome experience in my mind, to be an outsider looking at that. And I know as teachers that may not be the school, but when the kid doesn't want to leave school, I think we're doing something right. And these are the kind of projects that I see that happening. Stafford Center, with kids asking if they can get copies of keys to get in and work on their stuff after hours. And I know that scary side to that too.
Yeah.
But it's also.
The two principals, just the hair stood up on the back of their
Well,
neck.
I'm not even saying that's the goal. The goal is to have the kids that engrossed in a project where they're asking. Principals still say no. I understand that. But these are the type of projects that I see kids across the state doing that.
So let me pause. Comments, questions?
Well, I know when we looked at putting this class in, I called up to the state.
And Max, tell us, you're going to do this project as a class.
Right, we're working with Marion. Megan's actually going to teach it. We have kids, we do it on Blackboard.
Mm-hmm.
So we have kids, she's teaching a Blackboard class to our kids. Our kids are actually not in a position where they're all taking it at the same time.
Sure.
We do it whenever during the day. But they said the first thing they want us to do, they want us to fail. They want us to have a plan. That's when you're going to learn it. So they were pretty big on that. Kirk Haskins was pretty big on that. Jay Scott said that's when you're going to do your best learning. We never want to fail, but
Yeah.
you got to make a plan, and they don't always work.
Yeah.
So I can appreciate what you're saying.
Have you seen this Tony Wagner video?
I've seen Tony Wagner's. I don't know which
Okay.
one this is.
You're going to enjoy this because he hits on about 8 points you just made.
So I think it's a great thing.
Lisa, what are you thinking?
Well, I mean, I've done a lot of thinking about how I'm going to use this in my marketing class. But again, I'm doing it with teen, and my concern is that I'm going to have to know who's taking care of the money at Hillsborough, who's taking care of the money at Marion, who's taking care of the money at Harrington, because I can't oversee all that. I can oversee my kids at Center.
Real world
so
problem.
it's going to take a lot of.
She's already doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to take. I mean, I really want to do it. It just kind of concerns me that.
All the
I'm
questions.
more of a, I need guidelines. I need you to kind of map this out for me so I know exactly how it's going to play out. And then I need to be sitting down with people at the teen schools and knowing exactly who's going to, on a daily basis, going to be monitoring these kids because I can't monitor them.
Yeah, I'd recommend seeing your doctor getting a good prescription. Yeah.
Kind
Kind of like being an entrepreneur, huh? Megan, what are you thinking? Now, you'll be at Marion.
Yeah, and I have my Marion kids, and then I'll just have Hillsborough kids this year.
Okay.
Kind of see how it goes, so I don't have.
Yeah, I've got 5
Lisa
schools.
does. So. Challenge.
Yeah.
Now, would those 5, just for my knowledge, would those 5 schools be 5 separate teams?
Yes, because I just was mapping out here 3 kids from Harrington. They don't all meet the same hour, but they can figure out 3 to 4 from Marion, 4 to 5 from Hillsborough, 1 from Peabody that I may combine with somebody. And then Center may have 2 teams because I almost have 10 to 12 kids in
Yeah.
my class.
Yeah. Tell me,
We put in a class applied business development. I mean, we're using this. There's 10 kids in it.
how many teams are you planning?
Well, I
One?
was just planning 1 right now.
Okay.
Yeah, and we've already kind of divided them up, like a kid that really likes to do website design, or some kids that are trying to figure out a logo, and some of my accounting kids are worrying about how they're going to figure out, how to keep track of the money.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, just lots of questions, I mean, they're firing questions at me that, like sales tax, like, they're asking all these, how are we going to ship it?
Well, one of the things I want to do today related to that is what are the most urgent first questions? Because what we want to do, for example, I think I've got an accountant that will come in and do a webinar with us that we can answer some of that stuff. We want to keep moving as fast as we can. On the other hand, we don't want to solve every problem for the kids either. Part of being an entrepreneur is figuring out how to solve the problem.
You know how many adult businesses fail every day because the adult never thought about sales tax? I mean, literally, if you just watch your county newspaper, there's a couple a week in your county. But the adult was like, oh, I don't need to worry about sales tax. Go ahead. And you got kids in high school. I mean, to me, that's awesome that they're asking, that they even get it. And that's the whole point of this exercise, in my opinion, is to get them to ask those questions. From there, know that we're bringing these people that can answer those questions. But at the same time, what we don't want to do is, as the organizers of the contest, say, here's what you have to do about sales tax. We want someone to ask that. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Because it's so much better than, we could have prepared the 50-page 3-ring binder that says, here's every step for you to do it. And we just created,
Being an entrepreneur, there's not a recipe for it.
yeah, I promise you that. There is, but you need to develop your own recipe. Because if someone hands it to you, then it's just a to-do list, and you're not being entrepreneurial. Just,
You know, when we were applying for the grant, I met with the banker, and he said the one thing you have got to do. He said we have more businesses go out of business because they don't understand profit. They said they've got all kinds of money coming in. They've just got more money going out. They don't understand. You've got to make a profit to make your business live. And that's, I don't know if you notice the language you use, the winning team's going to be the one that makes the greatest profit. Now, in many circles, profit is a dirty word. For an entrepreneur, it better be your number one thought, that you got to make a profit. You got to make money. Nancy, what are you thinking at this point?
Well, this is our first year to add marketing to our curriculum, and I'm just basically here to, well, kind of get a feel for it. Like I tell my kids, my husband farms, I teach, therefore we're poor. So you know, when you come to the the entrepreneurship aspect, I understand that with farming. There's so many factors that can get involved with it, and with farming, there are factors we cannot control, weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, and insects, and and stuff like that. So, and to be successful, you can't just jump in and go. Like you said, you've got to think all these things out, and it takes a while.
Yeah.
I've called the government to get your EIN numbers and this and that. So, I've kind of done this through the last 40 years we've been married, and it's a slow process. Yeah. And if you're not willing to work 24/7, it's not going to happen. Yeah. People at school, they say, "What are you still doing at school? It's 7 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. What are you still doing here?" I'm doing my work. Because I need to do my schoolwork, and I want to do it there. Because when I go home, I've got farm work to do. So it's not an 8-hour job, and I know that. And some of the kids, they need, it's a lot of research, and they want to be, they want things on a platter. And I said, guys, there is no right or wrong answer. It depends on what you're doing and things like that.
That's the perfect lead, and I'm going to show you this video because I think this will help you really, in 15 minutes, understand what we're trying to accomplish with this project. So my agenda just got blown away. Go ahead, Cody.
I would contend that and again, I'm the doofus that's not in education at all, that gets into education discussions with people that have a lot more experience and certificates than I do, but I would contend from the things that I've seen that they don't want things on a platter, that we've been handing them things on a platter, and that's what they're used to. Mm-hmm. And when all of a sudden we just take the platter away but still tell them to accomplish something, it'll shock them, and they'll be like, what do you mean? I don't know what, give me the list of things to do. And you're like, I don't know what the list of things to do is, just start making this happen. They'll get so much more engaged. They'll get excited when they have a question and you say, I don't know. But you tell them to get their phone out and Google it and figure out the answer, or you tell them to submit, ask someone the answer. You'll have the stragglers that are like, oh goodness, right, she's not telling me what to do. But in the end, I think you'll have this group of kids, and we may mess up the rest of their teachers because they may realize they don't want things on a platter. They want to think and they want to find out on their own. So
I got to tell you, before I show you this video, do any of you get your news through an RSS feed? Any kind of news aggregator? I do. That's how I get my news in the morning. So this morning, this is one of the, are you familiar with the Maker movement? If you're not familiar with the Maker movement, just Google it, look at it. Makezine, MakeZine.com, Makezine. The maker movement has kind of grown over the last 6 or 7 years, and it's just people that make stuff. And in fact, I went to the Maker Fair in Kansas City. There were 12,000 people in 2 days. It's technology, it's food, it's crafts. There were people making 3D printers, and there were people making brownies. It's if you make some. So I subscribed to their newsfeed. This was the headline this morning. The Mighty Lip Balm Linear Actuator. This is nerdy stuff, by the way. There's the instructions for making this thing that pushes the lip balm out. So I had to show you. That's what popped up today.
Are any of you familiar with the arts and crafts movement of the early 20th century? I mean, the maker movement is just like the arts and crafts movement, where it's all about people making things, and it's really cool.
It's the 21st century version of that.
Right.
Some of the technology would blow you away. So let me get to the movie.
So when we get this product developed, can we take it to the Shark Tank and have them help support us?
Yeah, absolutely. Mark Cuban, or Mark Cuban's money would make it easier, that's for sure.
Okay. Let me get this up to full screen.
So how many of you are educators?
And by the way, he talks about some stuff in here. At the end, I'm going to give you a sheet that lists it all, so you'll have it in writing too. Let me back up.
So how many of you are educators, past, present, or future? Raise your hands. Good. I'm in the right place. I'm a recovering high school English teacher. True story. How many of you mentor young kids? Raise your hands. I'm definitely in the right place. For 25 years, we've heard about failing schools and the need to reform our schools. Anybody want to go reform school? Raise your hands. Einstein once said, the formulation of the problem is often more important than the solution. I would like to respectfully suggest our schools are not failing. They certainly don't need reform. The system is obsolete and needs reinventing, not reform. What's changed? It's simply this. Knowledge today is a commodity. It's free. It's like air. It's like water. How many of you have been on the Khan Academy website? Raise your hands. Yeah, most of you. Right. You know the quality of the education people can receive on that if they're willing to take the initiative. How many of you had to memorize the periodic table in high school? Raise your hands. Everybody. Good. So how many were there again? No, wait, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Whatever number you came up with is wrong because 2 more were added last week. And planets, are we up 1 or down 1? I don't know, I haven't checked my news feed today. And let's see, let's have a contest. Why don't you recite the 50 state capitals from memory while I Google them? Let's see who's quicker. Knowledge is a commodity. The world no longer cares whether or not you're smarter than a 5th grader or how well you do a Trivial Pursuit. What the world cares about is not what you know, but what you can do with what you know. And that is a completely different education problem. Then the question becomes, do you have the skill and do you have the will to use the knowledge you have acquired? Okay, so I got to tell you kind of an intellectual journey I've been on. 2005, I read The World is Flat by Friedman. How many have read that book? Scared the heck out of me, because as you know, he describes a world where increasingly any job that can be routine is rapidly being offshored or automated. White collar, blue collar, doesn't matter. Talked to him recently, interviewed him for the new book. He said, I got one thing wrong in that book. I said, what was that? He said, the pace of change. It's happening so much faster. So I worried about what kinds of skills will our young people need to get and keep a good job in this new global knowledge economy. And in fact, are they the same skills they'll need for citizenship and for continuous learning? Started interviewing a wide range of innovators, literally from Apple to Unilever, executives, U.S. Army, community leaders, college teachers, asking all of them, what are the skills that matter most today? What's important? Came to understand there's a set of core competencies every young person must be well on the way to mastery before he or she finishes high school. Not just to get a good job, but to be a continuous learner and an active and informed citizen in the 21st century. Very briefly, they are: number one, critical thinking and problem solving. What do they mean by critical thinking? The ability to ask the right questions, ask really good questions. Number two, collaboration across networks and leading by influence. Number three, agility and adaptability. Number four, initiative and entrepreneurialism. Number five, effective oral and written communication. Number six, accessing and analyzing information. And lastly, number seven, curiosity and imagination. So a couple things happened when that book came out 3.5 years ago. This is the Global Achievement Gap that Homa just referred to. First of all, I got a kind of affirmation from literally around the world that simply stunned me. Taiwan to Singapore to Helsinki to Madrid and kind of all places in between. Thailand, Bahrain, Birmingham, England. From Wall Street to West Point, people said to me, yep, these are exactly the right skills. I felt pretty good. Not bad. Then the other thing happened. The economy collapsed. And I saw kids coming home from college, seemingly having acquired some, maybe most of these skills, coming home from college to no job. They had the skills. Something was missing. Right now today, half of all recent college graduates are either unemployed or underemployed. A third are living at home. Maybe some of you in this audience. What did I miss? What was wrong? Well, as I try to understand the essence of this economic crash, I came to understand it's a lot more than the credit default swaps we read about, a lot more than just a hyperinflated real estate market and so on. Here's what I learned. Maybe you all know this. I didn't. More than 70% of our economy is based on consumer spending. What's everybody's biggest fear? That consumers will stop spending. That's why we lose jobs. Number two, that consumer spending has been increasingly fueled by people going into debt. Pulling money out of their houses as fast as they could, putting money on credit cards as fast as they could. 2007, the savings rate was minus 2%, leading me to conclude that maybe what we have done is create an economy based on people spending money they do not have to buy things they may not need, threatening the planet in the process. I think it's increasingly clear that kind of economy is not sustainable. As Jamie Cloud said, it is not sustainable environmentally. It is not even sustainable economically. Right now, today, the savings rate's about 4%. Consumers are saving more than they are spending. I don't think it's sustainable spiritually either. We need something different. So as I began to try to understand what's the alternative, what's going to be our niche in the global economy, one word appeared over and over and over again: innovation. The idea of not just the major innovations in STEM, but becoming a country that produces more better ideas to solve more different kinds of problems. Ideas that generate jobs, ideas that other people want and need as solutions to real problems, every kind of problem. So, America's always been known as a highly innovative country, but is that because of or in spite of our education system? Important question. We have infrastructure, spend on R&D, copyright protection laws, good immigration policy until recently. What about education? All right, Trivia Pursuit question of the day, so fast you're not going to be able to Google the answer. What do Bill Gates, Edwin Land, the inventor of the Polaroid instant camera, Martin Zuckerberg of Facebook fame, and Bonnie Raitt, the folk singer, all four have in common? Sorry, they were not dropouts. They were Harvard College dropouts. That's different. Thank you very much. Steve Jobs is a dropout. Michael Dell is a dropout. These guys were Harvard dropouts. So I decided to take a different tack, trying to understand, what must we do differently to develop the capacities of many more of our young people to be innovators? What must we do as parents, as teachers, as mentors, and as employers? Started interviewing a wide range of innovators in their 20s, extraordinary young people. Some from privilege, some from poverty. Wide range, all over the country. Some in STEM fields, some in arts, some were social innovators and entrepreneurs. Then I interviewed each one of their parents, trying to understand if there were patterns of parenting that I might observe. Then I asked each one of them, is there a teacher or a mentor who's made a significant difference in your life? 1/3 of them, 1/3, could not name a single teacher. Of the 2/3 who could, they could name at least one teacher. The third that couldn't name a teacher could always name a mentor, by the way. Very important. We underestimate the importance of mentoring. So I went and interviewed each one of those teachers and mentors. And I made what was for me a shocking discovery. In every single case, the teachers whom I interviewed, and I interviewed teachers from elementary school to graduate school, the full spectrum. In every case, every one of those teachers was an outlier in his or her school setting. In fact, I went to 5 colleges, Harvard, MIT, Stanford, Carnegie Mellon, Tulane. All 5 of those college teachers, having produced brilliant innovators, continue to do so. None of them had tenure, nor were they ever going to get tenure. What's the problem? Well, what I came to learn is that the culture of schooling, as we have grown up with it, is radically at odds with a culture of learning that produces innovators in 5 essential respects. Number 1, we celebrate and reward individual achievement. And sure, there's an important place for that, but as you well know, innovation is a team sport. And all of these teachers built real, accountable teamwork and collaboration into all of their assignments. Number 2, we're all about specialization in American education. High school universe is divided and conquered by something we call Carnegie units, which are 115 years old. Chemistry this, biology that, and so on. The world of innovation is interdisciplinary and problem-based learning. I interviewed Judy Gilbert at Google. She said to me, if there's one thing educators must understand, is that problems can no longer be solved nor even understood within the bright lines of academic disciplines. Number 3, the culture of schooling is all about risk aversion and penalizing failure. The student's job is to figure out what the teacher needs. Give the teacher whatever the teacher wants. The teacher's job is to avoid trouble. You know, that we're not encouraged to take risks as educators, right? The world of innovation, as you well know, is all about taking risks, making mistakes, and learning from them. I went to IDEO, most innovative design company in the world. They said to me, our motto is fail early and fail often. Whew. That's because there is no innovation without trial and error. I went to the D School, started by David Kelly from IDEO, an amazing interdisciplinary program at Stanford. They were talking around in a table together and saying, you know, we're actually thinking F is the new A. Try selling that report card back at your schools. I talked to a student at Olin College. Olin is, by the way, probably the best college in the country right now today. Every course, interdisciplinary, team-based, project-based, extraordinary place. Talked to a student at Olin. He said, you know, we don't even really talk about failure much here. We talk about iteration. Heck, I don't think I knew what that word meant 5 years ago, but it's become something so important as a concept to me in learning. There are no mistakes, there are iterations. Although I have to ask you, how many of you learn more from your mistakes than your successes? Raise your hands. Yeah, me too. God, that hurts sometimes. So that's painful. But the point is, we protect children in school. We protect children at home. The helicopter parents hover. They don't want their children to make mistakes lest their perfect record become blemished in some way. But that's the only source of real self-confidence. You learn that you can recover from a mistake. And you don't want to learn that when you're 35 because it hurts a lot more then. The fourth one, you know, the culture of learning is so much about passive consumption. In fact, I think that's where we all learn to be good little consumers in school, because we sit and get all day long. The classrooms of innovators are all about creating real products for real audiences. Lastly, and most important, we rely on extrinsic incentives for learning. Carrots and sticks. Money for good grades. The world of innovation. These young innovators, every one of them whom I interviewed, was far more intrinsically motivated. I want to make a difference in the world. And so then when I look back at what these parents had done and what these teachers had done to encourage this intrinsic motivation, I found another pattern. Play to passion to purpose. Parents and teachers alike encouraging more exploratory play, fewer toys, toys without batteries, less screen time. more time that was unstructured. Get out and play. Parents who encouraged students to find and pursue a passion, who knew that was more important than mere academic achievement. Teachers who encouraged students, made time in every class for students to do projects, to do research, to do experimentation, to find and pursue an intellectual or artistic passion. And in every case, as these kids have developed passions, they morphed, they changed, they evolved into a deeper sense of purpose. Because parents and teachers alike said one thing: give back, make a difference. And all of them have that value, want in some way to make a difference. So what does this mean for our work? Well, we could have a long conversation about how the system needs reinventing. I've written some things about that. But I come back to what each one of us can do. And I come back to the idea that, first of all, we have to be innovators in our teaching and in our mentoring. We have to model the values, the behaviors of innovation. We have to, in our teaching, be willing to take risks. Be willing to learn from mistakes. Work more collaboratively with our colleagues. But I think above all, maybe what's most important for me is that I, as a teacher and as a mentor, now think much, much more about where and how am I encouraging the play, the passion, and the purpose in everything that I do with young people. Thank you very much.
So what do you think? So as you listen to that, what struck you about our project and what he was saying?
Falls right in line with it.
Yeah, and one thing I thought about right away was the grading. How can we be punitive if there's learning a process?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be, are they going through all the steps? Or are they asking, I don't know, that's going to be a tough one for you guys, I believe. That's going to be because you could have a kid that's doing it real well and their project fails, but they learned
so much.
Zillions of things.
Yeah.
Steve, I think Senator and Marianne are in the same boat because we do a lot of things together. But we think we do project learning pretty well, but when I brought back these teachers from Project Lead the Way, there's not a book. There's not a book. They give you something they want you to learn, and our teachers hand it to them, and they go, and they're asking the questions, well, what'd I do? This is yours.
Yeah, what do you think you do?
Yeah, and they can show them examples of what they learned while they were at Project Lead the Way, and that's what they did, but it's so much different than what they're used to, because now we're just facilitating. This is what we want you to learn. Go learn it. Bring it back, and we're going to share it, and we're going to move on. But it's all project-based, too. It's
all learning by doing experiences.
And the cool thing about that is we sent a math teacher, we sent a science teacher, and we sent an ag teacher.
And the Project Lead the Way is engineering.
Yeah, but all those classes, all those teachers are putting those skills they learned in Project Lead the Way into those other classes. So we think we're going to even get better at projects.
Let me tell you, and Lisa, I was only half joking about the prescription, but this is really a different way of structuring a class than standing and telling kids about running a business to turn them loose and have them actually run a business. Really different approach.
And
really
that's what I was
uncomfortable.
already thinking and I think I brought this to you last spring when, I spent last year building my marketing class online, and they went through chapter 1, 2, 3, whatever. But now I can take all those chapters I built, and when they're doing packaging, I can say, okay, look, go to chapter 33, and this is where all your information is at.
Yeah.
You know, they have the knowledge there in the book, but so that's kind of where some of my grading might come in. I might have a couple worksheets in there with terminology and stuff when they're going along this process.
Yeah, you almost, the environment you need to create is a kid is doing something, they run into a problem. What's the resource to solve the problem? Now, I'll tell you, I don't know what you guys do on your filtering on your networks. You got to figure a way to at least have one computer that is open to YouTube. Now, supervise it, keep an eye on it, because you can learn to do anything on YouTube, and I mean anything. But the resources on YouTube are absolutely amazing. In fact,
During the day, we're not.
I'm gonna just show you this just briefly. We're not gonna watch the whole thing. You're gonna watch about 5 seconds of it. And there's a story behind it. Year and a half ago, Mike Cook, my boss, comes in and does a presentation for us as a staff. He had been at home on a Sunday afternoon. His son walks in and says, "Dad, the window won't roll up on the truck, and there's a storm coming." Okay? So they go to YouTube, and they go to this website, 1A Auto. Now, I just picked a video today. This is not the one of running the putting up the video.
Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for
This is
quality
an auto
replacement
parts
parts
store,
and the best
right?
service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And next time you need parts for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we're going to show you how to service the headlights on this 2003 Honda Civic. We're going to show you both just changing the bulbs if that's what you need
Move ahead a little
in front of your car.
They literally say now.
The tools you'll need for this project are a flat blade screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, 8 and 10 millimeter.
Okay, we're not going to watch all that, but
That's a perfect example of what Wagner's talking about with knowledge is just a commodity, right? In the big scheme of things in today's day and age, no one needs to go to school anymore to figure out how to change the headlights, right? Now, people are still going to pay people to do it. We're not going to screw the whole economy up. But honestly, if I was an auto repair teacher, YouTube would be like, well, we're not going to go over how to do that because this guy did it already and tells you how to do it every time, and you'll learn it after a couple of times. But learning how to go out and find that answer is the real skill, the real workplace skill that people want. I've hired a lot of employees, and I love the employee that comes to me and when I tell them to do something and they say, I don't know how to do that, so give me an extra 5 minutes and then I'll get it done. That's the ultimate employee in the world. It's compared to what their certificates say that they've learned how to do. It's their ability to use Google. It's the greatest skill set there is.
And Google's the #1 search engine in the world. You know what number 2 is? YouTube. Number 2. So owned by Google. Yeah. I actually had an experience. Max, I think you're pretty handy. You like fixing, repairing. Somewhat. Mike Cook, our boss, loves it. His idea of a vacation is tearing the door off the truck and redoing the whole thing and putting it back on. My idea of hell on earth is digging into that door. Okay. So Becky, my better half, shows up one day with a light bulb and she says, "Would you put this light bulb in my tail light?" Nothing. Cool. I'd rather have a root canal to dig into that. I go to this A1 Auto, I look it up, I put it on my iPad, I walk out, I set it, SUV, lift up the hatchback, set it there, hit play, pause, do what they say, hit play. 10 minutes later, the bulb's changing on the hero. I'm thinking, this is pretty sweet. I might be able to get into this. But that's how the world works today. It's not learn everything about it and then go do it. It's go do it when you run into a roadblock, stop, figure out how to do it, and move on. And so we're going to give you some stuff. We're going to have some stuff in place. But I would encourage you 2 things. Number 1, Don't try to get everything in place. If you have it, use it as a reference. Perfect. If you don't, let the kids do it. But number two, don't think you have to have every answer. You know, Cody ran 3 businesses, and he had a marketing web development business with his wife, and most of it you couldn't do.
None of it.
Or none of it. You don't have to know it all. You don't have to have every answer.
I could literally do none of it when we started. We just thought people keep asking us for this. We should learn how to do this. And then it kind of worked out.
Yeah. And we've been of the mindset that the teacher had to have all the knowledge and give it to the kids. It just, that's not, there's too much out there today. There's just too much to know. You know, the other point he made in the movie was how we isolate by content. And both of you have said you teach marketing. This builds marketing right into the process. You know, when are you teaching the marketing? Well, you're teaching it when you need to get people to your website or to your product to buy it. And the world, I might have Cody show you some stuff here in a little while. We hired Cody as our marketing director, and the first thing he did was run Facebook ads. And I'm like, okay.
You know those ads that nobody ever clicks on that everybody says when you bring it up? Same thing with Google ads, right? You bring up Google ads, the ads that are on there, and everyone says, I never click on them. Google does right around 11 billion a quarter off of people clicking on those. 25. The people that are telling you they don't click on them are lying. And it's the same thing on Facebook ads. And the cool thing is the data that's behind that to support it.
The data is mind-blowing. I think in Hutchison with those Facebook ads, how many direct contacts did we gather at the 2 learning centers in Hutch?
We got the data that right around 28,000 people saw the ads that we ran on Facebook, and we took the interactions on those Facebook pages and increased them both in a 2-week time frame by 4,000%. And we spent $180. I mean, it's those type of things. If you have some chapstick to sell in your community and you want your community to know about it, you can have your entire community know about it through Facebook. Now, even the ones that aren't on Facebook, everyone else is going to be talking about these weird kids that are selling chapstick at the school, and we're going to get them talking, right? Everyone wants to say word of mouth, and word of mouth is sunk 1,000 businesses because they open their doors, and their marketing plan is, well, my barbecue is so good that you have to start word of mouth. And it used to be you gave away free samples and tried to invite your friends, and now you can, the numbers are incredible, the things you can do in marketing these days, and it's so simple and so affordable that it plays right into a project like that.
And we're going to do webinars on the stuff where we have expertise. We'll do webinars on especially new kind of stuff like that. The numbers just absolutely blew my mind when they started coming in a week later after we started doing it. But that's when we talk about helping create entrepreneurs in rural communities, that stuff you can use it today. I mean, literally, Cody, we've got 14, 15 learning centers. He could target the ads on Facebook by zip code. You know, you can earn a living in Canton, America today with that stuff. That's why it's so important that our kids do that stuff. Let's kind of, I just put some questions together to kind of walk through. Well, let me pause. Diana, I kind of skipped you the first time around as a counselor. You're not working directly with kids, but what are you thinking about all this?
Well, I'm here just because I want to know more about it.
I have the money is what I need.
From your point as an administrator, there's, and I don't really want to throw max. You know, if they're smart and use their time and energy effectively, absolutely no reason this couldn't be off the ground with $100. Okay,
yeah.
And then if you make them do a true startup mentality of here's $100, that's all you get. So you need to make some more money before you need more. I mean, literally, that's right. Part of the reason that we're not doing like Maseratis as our product. Right? We're doing chat.
That would be a problem.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
I mean, if I know there's a figure that I know that I can, because I mean, I can allocate money that way.
Now, what we'd love is for you to have a mindset and the kids come back to their venture capitalists,
The principal,
and say, here's what we
I
need.
feel good.
You know, and then
with interest on it
and if-
when they pay you back.
if they
Yeah, to
come
make it more realistic.
Yes.
if
I
they
like that.
come with $10,000, their venture capitalist shoots them down and
Yep.
says, no, you know, go figure out how to start it for less.
Yep.
But and it's kind of the process we want them to understand that every business that ever started, somebody had to come up with some money before they made any money.
Are you going to send us these questions?
Pardon me?
Are you going to send us these
They
questions?
are already on the website.
Okay, cool. Perfect. That's good.
And I want to tell you, I kind of had the mindset I was going through this. One day, I was out at Stafford, and I believe it was Stafford. Young man starts talking to me, and he's really excited. He and his dad make knives. They do the metal, the handles, and they really, I mean, they really are nice. And I'm thinking, okay, if that kid was in this class, what would he want to know? Because he's going to sell chapstick today, but next week he's going to be creating a website to sell knives. What do I want him to do with the chapstick so he's ready to go build it on his own? Well, one of them is, how much money do you need to start up? How are you going to get started with this? What are the expenses? And a lot of it is just doing some research. Google it. You know, that's the other beauty today. God, you got information in seconds, where it used to be, you know, when can I get to the library in Wichita because it's the only place big enough to have, you know, decent resources. Other comments about startup money. Principals, I absolutely would talk to them about paying it back with interest.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, any of these that are in blue on the website are linked to a website where you can go. Where will we get the lip balm material? Well, if you didn't know, what would you do?
Did you hit it twice? You just went from 1 to 3.
I'm sorry. Oh,
Question.
this is number 2.
Question 2 is a mystery question that you have to figure out on your own.
Got to get to question
Then we
3.
got 3 and 3A. If you Google lip balm materials, and there's a link, this is linked on the website, there are some places you can go to that you can start to find the materials. In the recipe tab from the teacher at Walton, there's a place there. You can Google them. The kids can look up what do they cost. They can do some comparison. Sounds an awful lot like math skills to me, but maybe not.
Well, and then, you know, I did access that, and I have the recipe here. She talked about the trays that are about $15 a piece, and I went, oh, wow. And then she goes, but I had my husband make, you know, the block, and I go, okay, I've got some guys who can do that for me at home.
Yeah, and
The shop
if
guys.
not at home,
at school,
which of
the
those
shop guys.
kids has a shop class that can
Yep.
go to?
And they have scrap lumber out there.
Yeah, and actually do it.
I mean, you can do a lot with stuff that you're going to throw away anyway. You know, that's called recycling.
Yeah.
So, which brings your costs down.
Yep.
Doesn't have to look pretty.
You know, this starts to get at when he talks about that division by content area. Everything in the real world is integrated.
Mm-hmm.
It's all integrated. And your solution may be to go to the shop teacher. Somebody else's may be ordered the thing off the internet and you got the tray.
Well, I've got one of my boys goes out to shop, and I just say, okay, Patrick, here, go make me some.
Yep. And this is what it has to do.
My kids went to the science lab and found, you know, like there's actually a holder. I said we had a lip balm there, and I said, find a holder that maybe that would sit in. They found them.
Oh,
The
test,
teacher said,
like
sure.
a test tube,
Yeah,
test tube
yeah.
holder.
Yep, the
There you
old
go.
test tube holders.
The how will we make the lip balm? There are recipes all over the internet. There's one linked right on the website. You know what I figured? The kids at Walton that make it are kindergartners. I think surely we can figure it out. If the kindergartners can do it.
I remember you telling me that, 'cause I'm like, really? You want us to make it?
How do you label the lip balm tubes? Well, actually, there one of the websites you can buy some labels for it. You just find the right size and experiment with what you want on the label.
They even have labels that have the seal. You know, because we talked about that. You might want an actual seal, you know, so it's not been tampered with.
Right.
Yeah.
They found a label that has that seal already on it. So.
Your kids have got into this.
Well,
haven't they?
I had to do something with them.
Yeah.
I had them in class, so we've been like,
You're cheating, you're ahead.
Well, and let me see. I'm going to tell you.
hey,
I've
we're
had
ahead.
schools tell me we're not going to start till second semester. That's when our entrepreneurship class. My response was, I don't care. McPherson College is going to have a team second semester. I don't care. In the real world, your kids are going to compete with others. I don't know where Cleela is today. She was supposed to be here. Sterling ran, what was that curriculum they used? Ice House.
Ice House is was an entrepreneurship program we put on over at Sterling for the community for
adults. Okay, they're going to have a team and compete. Yeah, I still have to decide what the winner of this gets. I think it's going to be a bowling trophy. I don't know what else.
I think a traveling trophy would be awesome. The school got the house for a year until we ran another contest. Then you had to defend your title.
But in the real world, businesses start now. They start later. There's adults. There's young people. That's how the real world is. Just how it is.
What's the prize for the school? I mean, the kids get the traveling trophy and all that stuff, but what about the advisors that are putting this on?
It's a trip to Hawaii, I think.
Okay. A little extra incentive will make us work harder.
Nice try, Diane. What are you going to charge for the lip balm?
When she's talking about incentives, that's another thing that, I guess, being a farmer's daughter, farmer's wife, and a teacher, never having enough money, because you're always putting your money back into the business, is that why do people always have to say, what's in it for me? You know, the incentive. Can't it just be the satisfaction that you were able to accomplish a feat, a project?
True, but we don't teach those skills anymore.
And Brenda,
We
I'm
always give
real
prizes for
interested.
But see,
Are
that's
your kids
that's
getting
what
into
I do.
this?
Very much.
Yeah.
Did you learn from your, you know, don't.
Of course, I did get a hand-picked class.
Yeah.
He allowed me to hand-pick them.
Well,
So I have really, you know, that's helped, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's those
I
kids
know,
that struggle are the most
I never
successful.
forget what's
Yes.
going on.
Yes.
Sometimes those kids that struggle are really going to latch on to
You
a project
betcha.
like this because
You
they're
betcha.
struggling because they don't like sitting and get teaching.
That's right.
Our experience is this, that you will meet the most resistance from the kids' families, parents, that have been the most successful traditionally, because you're changing the way the game's played. When they went to project-based learning at Erie, the kids that were straight A students who didn't want to be in project-based learning, their parents were the biggest barrier. And they gave them the choice. You don't have to be in it. They didn't want it for other kids.
And don't get the wrong impression, she didn't pick all the 4.0 students, she picked kids who were in her FBLA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
program.
That want to be
Yeah.
entrepreneurs.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Absolutely.
Not everyone's entrepreneur material.
Yep.
And Steve, what I like about this is part of our, well, a lot of things, but part of our building construction, one of our larger classrooms we're creating is going to be just for these classes like this. But-
Project center kind of
But you
thing.
have to start somewhere to change the culture of thinking.
Absolutely.
With teachers and parents and administrators. So this would be a good jumping off point for us.
Absolutely.
Well, and what you said earlier about what else can they sell, that's one thing they've asked me. They're like, we're just going to do lip balm all year. Can we come up with some other products? You know, I mean, they're like, well, let's get this one under first and see. This
Let's-
might take every bit of our time. So.
Well, and I had a long conversation with the superintendent that I don't know who was more frustrated, him or me. And he said, well, what's the curriculum? Will it take all year? I said, well, if you were running a business, would it take all year?
If you don't complete the business, it's semester.
Exactly.
You know, and what's the curriculum? Well, it's everything. It's all those problems you solve along the way. Well, but do you have a written curriculum? Well,
Well, Megan and I were talking about this on our way this morning about our coffee shops and the kids. I cannot believe a kid was waiting on me at 7:30 the other morning to get in the door to get the coffee going and the news on. And I mean, it's just unbelievable the responsibility that some of these kids show because of this, because of these projects
Yeah.
that they're taking ownership in. And the kid that's managing this year, he's looked at what we started last year and how can I change and
Make it better.
make it
Iterate.
better. Yes, and it's just unbelievable the things that he's
Yep.
doing on his own without me even telling him. He's telling me what I need to be getting done. So
Are you, Lisa, are you starting to get to the point you can loosen up on the reins and not have to worry about solving every problem?
oh
for-
yeah, well, I just got an email just a little bit ago that they left the cash box out this morning. So the secretaries noticed that, they put it in the office. Well, before I could tell the secretary, do not give it to him until I get back today. She had already given it to him. But things like that, yeah, we've been trying to solve problems. The other day, somebody wasn't doing a tab right or running the cash register right, so we had to have a little in service on how to make sure. And it's not all of them, it's one or two kids. But that's what we're doing. The mistake's there, now how do we fix it?
Every
Which is business.
every Starbucks in the world that has 24-year-old baristas working for them has those exact same issues
Yeah.
every day.
We
Somebody
had
at
some
least-
complaints on the smoothies. They were making them way too thick. So we had to go and we had to revamp our recipe a little bit. And we noticed that our straws were thinner than the ones we ordered last year. So, I mean, those were problems that we had to solve. And so it's wonderful.
That's
And I'm
what I
not,
want.
yeah, and I'm not standing there doing it for them. I said, okay, Ty, why are the smoothies thicker than what they were last year? Well, then they kind of, I mean, they figured it out on their own.
So have you decided what you're going to charge? Are you still doing the calculations?
Still kind of got- They came up with $2 for that.
Well, you know, the good news is you can make a batch, and if they're off, you'll be a few dollars in the hole, not tens of thousands of dollars in the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those mistakes. So, and then how are you going to let people know? Well, that's marketing. How are you going to market it?
Yeah, I like the Facebook idea, but you have to open it. I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, would they have to? Would they do it at home? I guess they could do it
Tell
at
them to
home.
get their phones out of their backpacks.
This old teacher don't get those
These
phones
guys
out.
are squirming over here.
The greatest story ever I have about that is when my daughter was in 7th grade, I dropped her off at HMS 7 every morning. And there's every day, and I'm the type of person that notices this stuff, the same kind of really little, you know, stereotypical nerdy looking kid is sitting on this blue metal bench every morning on his laptop. And I dropped my daughter off way early. She hated it, right? Because they didn't even let her into school. She had to stand out there by herself with this kid that was maybe not the most social kid around. And finally I said, "What's he doing?" And he's like, "Dad, he's testing proxy sites. And then he'll post them on his Facebook page so that we can all get on the proxies and get what we need." And the greatest thing ever was she started showing me on this kid's Facebook page the teachers liking his posts. Because he tested all the proxy sites, the teachers figured out he was doing it, so the teachers are jumping around and can get to YouTube and things like that. And it's
Max, they're going to beat you. There's too many of them.
Well, I know they are, and I know they do, but yeah,
And-
we get hit from the state on that too. That's the whole.
no, I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
condoning complete freedom with
Yeah.
kids involved, but if you tell the kids that we need to get something on Facebook and then go refill your coffee, it'll be on Facebook when you get back.
Yeah. So when you did
That's
that
true.
advertising on Facebook, you said it costs a certain amount
Does
of money.
cost, yeah.
There's a whole lot of Facebook that you can do very successfully for free. I do think that when I get to the marketing part of you know, doing some webinars or getting involved in your team's marketing stuff, we very much want them to try, you know, if they come to you and they get $100, they hopefully, I don't want to guide them too much, but hopefully 20% of their venture capital startup is dedicated to marketing. Okay, and we can do some pretty freaking incredible things with $20 on Facebook. We really can.
Well, we have a Facebook page, you know, and I think all of you probably do, you know, so I mean, that's a good place to, because a lot of people look at it.
Oh, absolutely. The real joy in this thing, the first time they got to ship one outside of the state of Kansas, or a box of 10 of them, they're going to go crazy. It's a really cool feeling when someone that you don't know and doesn't live close to you buys your product and you ship it to them for the first time. Then they're going to dig in. Then they're going to be headed back to the banker and say, look, we need to ramp this baby up. We need some more money.
And that's a huge point. Tell you what, Cody and I have been out to the Seed Center in Stafford many times, and they do a really good job. That's a cool place. But their mentality is, I'm running a business in Stafford. Somebody's got to be in Stafford to buy what I do. If you're going to make it as an entrepreneur in a rural community, you got to have that first sell to somebody that you don't know that didn't drive through town. Because there's not enough money in Hillsboro for all these entrepreneurs to flourish. There's just not enough money there. It can only be split so many ways.
Another reason that we picked lip balm, because the logistics of mailing a Maserati to someone are a lot more complicated than mailing them a stick of lip balm.
A little more expensive.
Right.
Too. Yeah.
Very easy to put in a box, and hopefully, the reason it's a rural focus is Steve and I, for several years now, kind of had this passion of getting rural kids to realize that, you know, I mean, if your lip balm hits it and people start buying it, Canton is actually a great place to run that business. You know, the facilities are more, you don't need to move to Kansas City to run your lip balm business. And that Seed Center, there's some great examples of kids out there that were doing really entrepreneurial things, but had the bad side of a small town mindset. You know, they're thinking, if I'm going to sell these laser engraved candles that I'm making on a bigger basis, I got to move outside of Stafford. No, you don't. The school bought you the laser machine. Stay here, make loads of money here, and ship those things. You know, and it's that breaking of the mindset of, if I want to do big things, I got to get out of this small town. Now, again, I'm a big fan of, if you want to be a Broadway star, then you need to get out of Canton or Marion. Yeah, you know, it's going to be a little difficult from Canton or Marion or Center. But it's neat to see those light bulbs go off, and you'll see some serious light bulbs go off when the first person from outside of Kansas, or even absolutely no reason, somebody in this contest is going to have to figure out some international shipping stuff. You know, and that's going to be a really cool thing when the kid's like, holy cow, does this really say Canada, Australia? You know, and those things will happen to some extent. I'll guarantee those things happen.
And you don't need to know how to do all that. You just need kids that can figure out how to do it. Where do people buy the lip balm? Do we need a website? Well, you know, I've had people actually say, what if we can just sell, if we can win the contest selling in our town? Go for it. If you don't sell them at the football games, you're crazy. You know, out there in the wind. But you're also crazy if you're not selling online, because you're just missing a great opportunity. Have you started your website?
Not yet. Because we've been talking about that domain costs. I mean, I'm not sure if we're going to do a free one or we do have a kind of connection with our telephone company in Galva, that HCI, that they sell domains. They might let us.
Let's talk about that some.
Good graphic. See, I envision that your kids need to come up with some little display case that's sitting on the counter at the coffee shop, right? And then they, maybe, if it's not the same kids, now we're getting into, we've got to negotiate a separate, like, we're going to sell these to the coffee shop to sell, right? I mean, brick and mortar is still just as big as online, and that's a great place for them to not be completely, you know, worried about losing a bunch of money or worried about they need to get a formal contract to sell their product, but they need to talk to the coffee shop manager and say, hey, I'll sell these to you for this and you sell them for this. And maybe if there's someone that runs the concession stand at the football game, they have that same conversation. Hopefully some of them think big enough to go to your little boutique stores in downtown. Say, hey, we have a product. Do you want to sell it? As well as but it'll be a pretty cool thing too when the boutique store in downtown calls and says, hey, we need to refill our order. And that'll be a cool thing for them.
Absolutely. Let me tell you, don't spend a ton of money on on hosting your website. Where is your school district website hosted?
Facebook. In the book. Our school district, or our school
Or the
district
website.
Owns the grocery store.
Because there's a couple. You can use GoDaddy, and I think it's the exact same cost as Bluehost, $7 a month, unlimited number of websites. So all of your teams, like Lisa, where you're going to have, you guys could have a bunch of teams. I don't know if you've got a web server in one of the schools, go for that. But if you're going to get something, for $7 a month, you could host all of those businesses on one server at GoDaddy or Bluehost. And in fact, I think when you sign up for it, the first domain is free, and to buy a domain is $10, $12 to buy the domain name. And those. You want to start thinking about domain names because just because you've got a great name doesn't mean it's available. Just go to GoDaddy.com and there's a place where you can search domains if you want to see. But we have a GoDaddy account here and we have a Bluehost. We are moving away from hosting our own websites here. We're getting out of that business. Servers cost too much. The connectivity costs too much. For $7 a month, we can. I've got on our Bluehost account, I've got 20-some websites on it. $7 a month. So,
what about Google Sites? I don't know much about it, but we have access to it.
There are some free sites out there, but you end up with a domain that says, by the way, our marketing team is competing against you. Actually, we're not. We're going to build a site because we want to do everything we're having you do, and we're going to help drive traffic to you guys is our goal. But ours is ducklipsdynasty.com. Okay? Now, if we did a free site, it would be ducklipsdynasty.wordpress.com. And you can't, many times you're limited in the plugins you can put in. And I'm going to give you an example of a plugin. You want to, so there are free things out there. And there are some free hosting sites. What's a website where you can put your crafts on?
Etsy.
Etsy is a free site. And you may want to have an Etsy site also. We'll do a webinar on that later. That you might have it in 2 places. But this is the kind of stuff, there are lots of good choices out there. You just got to make one. Of all the things you may need to get some help on, it may be the hosting and kind of getting started with that. If your tech director, if you don't have anybody, a tech director or somebody that helps, Jerry Butler can help you with yours. You guys, you won't have any trouble. I don't know what you have in Kent.
The new guy, he'll be good.
Yeah, you need to have them help you. That may be the one place you need a little more help. But find a kid that's really interested in that to work with them while they do it. Let some kid have that experience. I actually hire a kid who's a sophomore at KU. He's an architecture major. He builds all of my websites. Well, I build them and then he makes them right. He fixes them. Tell you what, he's got a pretty good little side business working his way through college doing that. And quite honestly, I don't know why he wants to be an architect because he could probably do, he's really sharp, he's entrepreneurial, He's really tech savvy. He's decided he wants to be an architect. So you find that kid that fits that bill for you and help get them ready too.
So you're saying if we had one site among us schools, we could
One host.
we could
Yeah,
on 20
like Bluehost, you could put all of them on that one server.
Okay.
Each team
Would have
should have its own
website. Each team has their own, but they
that's
can all be
possible
hosted on one
one.
location.
Yes. Okay.
GoDaddy is really good to work with, so is Bluehost. We don't have complaints about either one.
On the tech director and on you paying for a hosting site. Again, very few rules. This is not a rule. I'd love to see your team get a $5 invoice from the school's tech director if he did work for them. They can't think, and they, does that make sense?
It does. It's a cost.
And then take the $5 and buy lunch for the, part of a lunch for the, something. Or, before you give them their money, if they've already used the tech director, just deduct that. Does that make sense? If you're going to buy the hosting for 7 teams and it's $7, take $1 from each one of them to make them, because we can't make this be, we just don't want the adults that are overseeing this to just make things happen for them.
I keep thinking of that kid and his dad making the knives. He needs to know all the actual costs when they go to do their own. That's how you start to figure what is the cost of this business.
There's just so much. Like the kids were saying, like, what if you do have a website and people want to buy it online? I wouldn't even know how to set that. I wouldn't.
I owe you. That is the perfectly. One of the things I had Connor is my web kid that I had him do for me. I'm going to actually have you watch this video because I'm going to have Connor do some stuff that like this one was important for you to see. And so, let me play this.
Now that we've developed some skill in WordPress by installing themes, plugins, and even WordPress itself, we can look at an e-commerce plugin called Cart66, which will allow us to sell merchandise on our websites. This is one of the simplest ways to start a business online. We're going to start like we have before at our dashboard, focusing on the left-hand menu, where we're going to click to add a new plugin. The plugin that we'll be adding today is our e-commerce plugin, and it's called Cart66 Lite. After we search for the plugin, it'll take us to the screen where we install the plugin, and then we're going to click OK to proceed. Like before, it'll take just a moment, and afterwards we'll click Activate just to make sure that the plugin is active on our website. Our next step is going to be returning to the dashboard. Once we're at the dashboard, we can see that we have options added for Cart66. But before we do that, we're going to check out some options that we have. After installing Cart66, we should see that we have some pages added to our website. The plugin did this for us. We didn't have to add any of these pages ourselves. But in order for them to appear on our website the way that we need them to, we have to adjust the menu settings on WordPress. One thing that I like to do when I'm about to create a menu is give it a name that pertains to the nature of what I'm doing. Here we're just calling it Shop. Next, I'm checkmarking the items that I want to add to the menu. These are the items that will appear in your navigation bar after this process is complete. By clicking Add to Menu, it will add these items, and then we can even drag and drop them. For my preferences, I'd like to have the cart option ahead of the checkout option. After saving, we are able to then go to the Manage Locations tab, where we can specify which menu we'd like to use. Since we're going to be using the Shop menu, that's what we've selected. Now that we've refreshed the website, we can see that the menu that we just created has been added to our website, and now we can navigate to it. Since our store was looking a little empty, let's add to it by going to the Products tab under the Cart66 menu. The first thing you'll notice is a blue bar at the top. There's an X in the top right-hand corner to get rid of it. Now we can add our product without any clutter. Here we're just adding the lip balm product as an example, giving it a number and then a description. As you can see, there are some other options that you'll be able to use, and these are personal preference options. What I did down below is specify the minimum amount for purchase and the maximum amount for purchase. After that, I clicked Save. Here we can see now that the product has been added to the list of products that are available to us. The next step is to edit our pages so that the product actually appears on the website. We're going to click Edit on the shop page and then click the Cart66 tab above the editor. Here we can specify which product we want to add, and then we can add some other options too, like what the button will say when people are choosing to add it to their cart. I chose to put in Buy Now for my button, but for advanced users you can also customize the button in a number of other ways. It just depends on your personal preference. But for our purposes, we're just going to leave these as is. Next, if we click on the Confirm button, it'll add this code to the editor. Now all you have to do is click the Update button, and we can see that the product will be added to our website. After refreshing our website, we can see that the product has been added to our Shop tab. Now let's make it look a little better. Adding a picture would be a good way to do that, so by clicking on Add Media, we can go ahead and upload a picture that will work for our purposes. After we've got the photo uploaded, there will be some options available for us on the right-hand side where my mouse is. I'm choosing the options that I think are best, but feel free to play around with these for personal preference. Adding a photo like this is a quick and easy way to add a little bit more flair to your product, and it also gives the buyer just a little bit more information so that their purchase is a sound one. Another quick way to make an improvement to our product is to add a description to it. By hitting enter just a couple of times on the shortcode that we installed earlier, we can then insert a descriptive sentence just above it to help sell this product to the customer. After refreshing, we can see that the photo and the product description have clearly been added and give a little bit more flair to our product. The next step is to set up our payment gateway so that people can actually buy our products. By going into the Cart66 settings area, we'll be able to make choices that help us define how we're going to accept payments. By clicking on the Gateway tab, we can get started. Now there are a few options here, but the only thing we need to focus on is the PayPal standard button I click on here. Now all we have to do is enter our PayPal account information, and then we can specify shopping and return URLs. The shopping URL is where people will be taken when they click the Continue Shopping button on your website, and the return URL is where they will be taken after they have processed their payment for their product. After clicking on the Save button, we can see that our settings are good to go and that people should be set up to buy on our store, except we do have one more step to take to make sure that's possible. We have to double check that our checkout page actually has PayPal enabled. So by editing the checkout page under the list of pages that we have on our website, we can go ahead and make sure that that's the case. If the code here does not say PayPal, you can go ahead and edit that yourself. It's very simple. Just use your cursor to click and highlight and then type PayPal in just like it is here. Our next step is to make sure that the cart works on our website. By going to the Cart tab that we inserted earlier, we can go ahead and make sure that it navigates to the checkout and that the PayPal option is showing below so that people can complete their purchase. After clicking on the button, they'll be taken to your Setup PayPal payment portal where they can enter their shipping information or log into their PayPal account, and then they will be able to fully complete the process. Last but not least, now that we've gotten through the initial completion of using Cart66 to sell merchandise, we can go back in and look at some of the other options that it has available. Be sure to explore some of these just in case they pertain to what you're trying to sell. If you are interested in having more options for your website, you could make an investment and purchase the full version of Cart66, which is even more flexible. Good luck!
All seems like really fat. I mean, right? The joy of it is it's on a video.
Okay,
Pause
thank
it.
you.
We didn't get it. Rewind it.
Because I'm like,
Still
whoa,
don't
he
get
went
it.
fast.
Watch it again. I mean, and obviously there's a step in there of if you choose to go this route. That's a WordPress website with PayPal as the e-commerce. Probably would be our recommendation. I hate to give recommendations because I want people to think through it. Very easy to do, and we probably have the not we, because we have access to Connor, you're not going to run into anything there that in the big scheme of things we can't help with. But the one step that's not there is getting a PayPal account.
Right.
Free, WordPress, free, Cart66 Lite, free.
So you can get a PayPal for nothing.
Yeah, you can get a PayPal standard for nothing.
When somebody buys your lip balm, though, they
There's
take
a
a
charge.
percentage.
Yes, that's what I was saying.
Right.
But literally, you set up the PayPal account, you install that on your website, you're selling stuff today.
So that has to figure into your cost of running.
That's exactly.
Oh,
right.
absolutely.
What your percentages are there
And
too.
PayPal standard is high. It's like 3.9%.
I was wondering what it would be.
Because they give you everything for free, so they take it. If you get a, there's PayPal Business Premium is the next jump up, and it's not a good idea. It's $250 a year and $29.99 a month.
Yeah.
But the way the businesses make that decision is it drops it to like 2.4%.
Right.
If you're going to sell 10,000 lip balms a month,
Then
you're
that's
going
what
to make more money buying the pay-for one. It also, on this system, when they hit it, they're going to go to paypal.com to check out. When it's done, it'll redirect them back to your website that you've built. The business standard integrates with your website. You never leave your website, but
Can we all have the same PayPal account? I mean, different websites, but same, that there's like one person, he would be in charge of monitoring that money? I mean, because that's one of my concerns is
Yeah.
that may take care of it if we could do it.
That's technically possible. And not a bad idea. You're going to add this step of, the way that you would do that is make sure that nobody names it exactly the same product, right? When you come up with the name of your lip gunk, because then you'll be able to drop a PayPal report, do a sort, and send a weekly report to, and they'll be able to monitor their own sales through Cart66 Lite on their website. Justification of those and distribution of monies, however that happens, would have to be, there'd be a manual concept that we got to go in and sort this. It's easy to drop into an Excel spreadsheet, hit sort, and school A's lipstick sold this much this week. It'll all be right there.
Or Team A, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what you do. You create one for a class.
Right.
And
then just there'll be a little bit of manual sorting of data because it's all in one place, but absolutely.
But these are all real world running a business questions. Now, the beauty of this video, pause, go do it. You're going to have the kid that gets into installing this will be up till 2 in the morning making sure it's perfect. You only need to know it's going to happen. Don't learn how to do it unless you like it.
On the back end, I've tried to contemplate options to make this whole money thing easier. And I've even thought of if your booster clubs do anything online, if they have a PayPal account or if they would be willing to get one. In the big scheme of things, I would seriously love to see the kids getting cut checks out of this deal. I know that oh God, how do we do that? Alarm just went off. But
we've got schools doing it already.
Right.
Not really, yeah.
And that was an option that I came up with of have the booster club do it and they get 5% or something, for an incentive to manage the money, and then they pay the kids as a contractor a percentage of everything that's made gets paid back to the company of your group of kids. That's not even a suggestion, it's just a way to get, because I know that's bouncing around in everyone's heads. Especially if, I had the question earlier of who has an idea, like how many do you think you'll sell? How many tubes of chapstick do you think you'll sell?
I don't know. They've kind of been pricing it out that they're going to start with 500 and then, so
Okay.
I have
That's
no
awesome.
idea.
The scary thing about this was that girl, and there was a girl at Stafford that was just killing it on the production. And she was all stressed out because she had 12 orders to fill in 2 weeks. And I said, well, how long does it take you to make and ship a candle? And she goes, oh, it's about 15 minutes per. And I go, good Lord, you've got to start thinking a little bigger, girl. Because that's, you should be stressed out over 250 orders in 2 weeks, not 12. And I don't want you to give them numbers, but if your kids come back and say, man, we're going to sell 50 of these tubes of chapstick, push them, right? Till you're crazy.
Right.
We're going to sell thousands of these things. And don't say thousands. Think bigger, because I don't want you to say 2,000 and then they don't make it and feel like they failed. But 500 is a great start number, and we get them excited and involved and using the internet and using merchant vendor partners. I think we should be selling.
How quick can they make them, I guess is the production side of that, because if you sell a bunch and people are having to wait, they don't like that either.
And absolutely, you go online, and now they have a federal law. There's a federal law that if I buy something from you online, I have to have, it's not a federal law, it's a Visa and MasterCard stipulation, you have 96 hours to either get the product in the mail to me or let me know why. Are they violating when you sign up for the PayPal account, if they don't do that in 96 hours, they're violating the PayPal end user's license agreement. Now, again, you're not going to be big enough that PayPal ever cares on that 5th day they call you, okay? PayPal's never even going to know. A real human being is never even going to know you have a PayPal account.
But all of a sudden you get a crazy
order right before.
Yeah, you get a crazy order, and everybody all of a sudden sells 10 packs of 10, and you only have 50 around, and they can't make you anymore right now.
No, absolutely.
So you have to have your stock.
Thinking and problem
inventory. Absolutely.
Well, that's what I'm.
Can the inventory be stuffed in the closet that's right next to the heating unit, and all your chapstick is goo after it? Right? You're going to have
where it is,
things.
isn't it? That's not where you put it.
And really, as a teacher, I would look at it as the joy of this is when they ask me those questions and I say, I don't know, if they screw it up, it's not even my fault. They screwed it up. I envision the students kind of being referred to as the board of directors of the company. And when someone comes to you with this question that says, how are we going to do this? I think the teacher says, I don't know. Do you need to take that to the board of directors and figure it out? Now, again, we have assembled a pretty good group of people on a support basis, but when they call us for support, there's going to be a lot of, well, I don't know, even if I know the answer, but then facilitate the thing.
Help them find the answer.
Yeah, absolutely, as opposed to just handing them a sheet of paper that all the answers are on.
If you want to know, though, now put this in perspective. This is for a tube of lip balm that we're having this discussion. Now you understand what employers feel when those kids get out in the real world and, you're talking an engineering project or something, and our kids are just, the deer in the headlights look.
But again, this is
that's the tray.
It's $15, and I would
see that they pour it in and take that little scraper and kind of scrape it back into it to fill them.
So we're producing these. They're just giving us how does this, or they're producing them at Walton?
Nope, you're producing your own.
Okay, see, I didn't know all that. I just figured they were already made.
Nope, you're producing.
You're getting the recipe.
Okay.
On the website.
By the way,
are you
now,
still going to do that together with the kid? You talked about that early on. Are we still going to do that? Come in and make
probably
it?
not. If we've got the grant, we would have had an opportunity to do it.
Okay.
We can grow some reefer in our.
Our profit here at SDAC, anything we sell is going to go to Walton.
Okay.
We may talk to you about a royalty fee to Walton. Yeah. Now I'm going to give away a little bit of the secret on our team. You better be ready, because for the women's lift junk, cherry and strawberry flavored. For that we're making for men, coffee and bacon flavored.
Oh yeah.
And I believe it's on there's a link on the website of how to flavor it, right?
Yeah, you have some right now. I'll take some bacon.
Are we allowed to change the recipe?
Absolutely.
Now,
that recipe is to get you started.
Are they allowed to change the recipe or just flavor the
I
recipe?
was gonna say, would that?
I wouldn't mess with, and this is just a discussion
part
point.
of it.
I wouldn't
Hey, we
mess
might
with the
have to do
actual
more
wax
instructions.
part of it.
Well, there-
Literally just for, we don't want somebody's lips boiling up. And we know that the stuff
This is
that's on the
safe.
website is
Gotcha.
safe.
Yeah.
Now, there is a link on the website of how to flavor it and multiple flavors that you can pick from. Is that, I didn't.
Yeah.
2 flavors, you said?
Oh, there's,
Okay,
there's all kinds of flavors.
you just like, when you're making your batch, you shake it, a teaspoon
Yeah.
of.
There's rum and Coke. My kids found that. I said, I don't think so.
I think that's a good one.
I'd take one of those.
Yeah. You want a bacon and a rum and Coke.
Maybe the teachers can have rum and Coke.
When I say, can you change the recipe? All these sites that sell this stuff have recipes on them too.
Yeah.
And I didn't look at it. I don't know if they're dramatically different. They're basically the same. I don't know.
We don't want to like.
Don't
Hey,
create
let's see
your
what
own.
motor oil does to this. I mean,
Yeah.
there's things we don't want to let them have complete run over. I don't think.
Hey, let's pause and refill your coffee. About when I was watching Tony Wagner was the collaboration over networks.
That's what's good.
That's a huge behavior and skill for your kids to learn doing that. So Cody, what do we got up here?
This is the ESDAC Facebook page. And again, keep in mind the budget right now, we spent $180 on this page. Spent a lot more than that, but on this page. This number right here was 891 the day that
August
I
1st.
started. And that's a 7-day number that 891 people have been exposed to our message coming out of the ESDAC Facebook page on August 1st. This is an 84% increase from last week, but the first week that we ran ads, we spent $40, and that was a 6,000% increase. There's nothing like it. There's never been anything like it. There's never been anything in the world. 150 years ago, you couldn't have scraped together $40 and had that kind of effect with marketing, right? And the results are there. I mean, we can go clear into, we're right now really focusing on enrollment at our learning centers, diploma completion stuff. The sales numbers are there to justify that it works too. You can talk to any of the learning center directors, and the majority of people that are coming in are signing up or saying, we saw this on Facebook. You can do a lot of that. Part of the reason the budget's so low is we're doing a lot of it without spending any money too. Doing things to organically, as opposed to paid, spread the word about what's going on at ESDAC. We'll have webinars on this stuff. I love talking about it, so when you get to that point, and I'll drive to where you're at to talk about it. I love talking about it, and I love those kind of numbers that it's not, I'm not a big fan of pie-in-the-sky marketing of, look at this great thing that we designed, and then we don't know if it did any good towards our bottom line. But this stuff is, and you start talking about online sales especially, we can track it all the way through. That we spent this amount of money on online ads, and literally this exact amount of people bought this exact amount of merchandise. So you start looking at per item, per tube of lip gunk, how much money did we spend to sell it? And if you've got at $2.99, you figure you have this much net profit in it, but we can take 10 cents per tube and spend it on marketing. And if that works, some money comes in and you spend that 10 cents more, and then that money comes in and you spend that 10 cents more.
And you will have some kids that love this piece of it. You're going to have others that are going, no thanks.
Yeah, and your kid that's designing the label, and it's a lot of, Ginger yells at me when I use left brain, right brain things. That's supposedly not right anymore, but there's different mindsets of kids, right? And I couldn't make anything in the world look attractive. I have no design capability. I just can't do it. I'll spend I'll stay up all night talking to you about the numbers and how we can do it. And you find that kid that latches onto this and loves those big peaks on the graph that shows success and stuff. And that's your marketing kid that is wanting to drive the bottom line by making more people know about it. And the cool thing about the online side of it is the ability to real time see the effects of your efforts happening in a graph somewhere. It's all out there.
Yeah, you can literally, in the ad that you put on, send them to a custom page on your website, and then you can go to Google Analytics and know exactly how many people came to that page from that ad.
You have that first marketing team meeting of maybe it's your whole group or it's your kids that are on the marketing part of it or whatever it is. And the first time someone says to them, what can we do? And they say, we can put up flyers around town. And then we facilitate that into, hopefully by the end of that meeting, they're thinking about selling somebody in Australia a tube of chapstick as opposed to just the people in Canton that walk by, you know. And again, I'm a marketing person, and that part of it is what fuels me. But there'll be some really cool things when they say, how can we sell some of this outside of Kansas? And they initiate a plan. And the plan may be just as simple as I'm going to go home and tell my dad that he has to email everyone that he knows outside of Kansas about our website selling chapstick, right? That's marketing. But it also is going to incorporate some social media, some search engine optimization stuff. The thought process, at least, of a budget for ads. Maybe that doesn't come until the whole first batch is sold. Maybe there's no money for to spend on ads until the first batch is sold. And maybe we got to sell that first batch at the football games, the coffee shop, to get the money to go, right? It's all part of a growth plan of the business. But I think it will be, for me at least, the first time those kids from, we're talking about some little bitty towns, right? They're going to think it's pretty cool, the first tube of chapstick that they sell
in New Zealand.
Yeah, they're gonna, and just because we'll sell some chapstick in New Zealand. I mean, we know people there.
We've got a sister organization there. We'll probably set them up to go to each of your sites and buy one tube. So.
And
there you go. That's good though. That'll help.
Yeah, absolutely. We want that to happen.
Yeah,
they're going to go.
We'll if I send them the check to buy it.
And we're not necessarily going to tell your kids that we helped facilitate that, and they're going to go, holy mackerel. I'm living right here in Canton, and I just made money that PayPal had to convert a currency rate to get me my money.
Yeah, see, they'll have to learn that process too.
Mm-hmm.
And understand how that works.
That part of it really just gets, I mean, it's almost a goosebump thing to think of those kids seeing that happen the first time. And I have to realize something, because I didn't show it, but I was frustrated with some of those kids at Stafford and thinking, you know, you're not thinking of the fact that you're connected to 3.5 billion people by your phone or that device or whatever device you have. And when they start to see that happen and the wheels start turning, it may not have a great effect on every kid, but there's going to be some kids in your classes that get excited about this whole concept, and then they're going to pick out another country and say, and literally, with this website right here, we can pick a country and say we want to sell some chapstick in Hungary. We can go in and run some ads in Hungary for our chapstick and see what happens. So I will get on the soapbox and talk about the marketing part of it forever, so I'm going to shut myself up.
You know, the piece that Tony Wagner talked about was that passion piece. You're probably going to have a kid that loves building the website. That will take that video that we showed you and will literally spend hours making sure it's perfect. Then you're going to have the kid that loves the marketing. That's where you can turn them loose. And you know, we make every kid learn all the same stuff as every other kid, whether they need it or care about it. You know, now we can start to specialize. Say, what piece of this puzzle do you want as your part of the business?
And that website kid's going to get a piece. A bit of learning that it's impossible for a website teacher to give to him. Because what if it doesn't work? I mean, what if his website is clunky and junky and people can't figure out how to navigate through it, and so the product's not selling? And your marketing guy is going to go, hey, I'm driving hundreds of visits to your website a day. We have a problem. The website's not working, or our price is wrong, or our, and a website design class teacher can't really accomplish all of that very well. They can give their insight when they look at it, but there's no real world feedback on, hey, or it may be the other way. The marketing person has this great plan, and the website guy's like, hey, I built this website, and there's one person every third week coming to it. We're doing something wrong here. And that's where an adult facilitator can keep it from, ending up in a fist fight between the marketing guy and the website design person. But then we can sit down and we can offer some really good facilitation of how to fix those things.
See, I think each of you guys ought to build your own site and sell something. No, just kidding. But Brenda, your kids were asking what else is, lip balm the only thing we can sell? Max had some great idea for a couple things there in Hillsboro.
Yeah, sausage, and I don't know if you guys eat our sausage or not over there. So it's known around the.
It is known.
I know I have several people come down to our tournament, and they take it back. They'll take 100 pounds up to their bar up there and sell it, and they get premium. It's just one of those things that. Then we have the mustard that goes with it. All those. There's a lot of things in your communities that you're doing that.
Well, we've talked.
They just need the help.
We have a beekeeper, in Theon. Because I've actually.
Oh yeah.
Tomorrow morning we're going to go look at his operation because we taught that beeswax is very inexpensive to buy. So I don't know if we'll really use his, because like what you were talking about, I want to make sure it's, at least maybe not right off, but he does honey. And I'm like, maybe we get this going, we could
sell the
add honey to the
branded, marketed.
Right.
Then you're not making the product.
Right.
We got second largest honey producer in the nation.
Is it
Hillsboro?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And that
I don't think
that becomes a great marketing piece.
I don't think beeswax will be a problem.
Here's the guy that makes our beeswax that lives in our town. I mean, that's a great marketing story behind the concept, right? Kids need to be thinking, how do we play off this small town concept? How do we play off this where kids doing this, right? It's an incredible marketing piece, and there's nothing wrong with taking advantage of it. I was going to say exploiting, but it sounds. I mean, right? We're a bunch of kids. Here's a picture of us. No, really, we're all kids, and we're running this thing, and I don't know. It could be really cool, the things that happen.
I just wanted to make sure we hit these questions. So, how are you going to keep track of your revenues and expenses? What are you guys going to use? QuickBooks?
Or planning.
I mean, that's really back to a traditional bookkeeping, accounting. How are you going to know if you're successful?
Make money.
We kind of hit it on a little bit out at Stafford at the Seed Center. They do this. They have their revenues and expenses. They pay all the expenses. They take whatever profit there is. The school gets 30% and the kids get 70%. So now if you got a team of kids, you got to divide that up and figure out. But there's some kids out there who made some pretty good spending money working at running their business at the Seed Center.
Well, that's what we were just talking about. That's the other thing is, in a way, I'd like this to be a separate banking than through the school.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Could you work with the bank, because
that's what we talked about. Maybe the bank would even loan us.
Because our activity,
I hate to take this to our secretary and say, oh, here. Plus the kids then don't really have that.
Do you have any bankers on any of your advisory committees?
Yes, I do.
That's what I would use. That's what I'd say.
Is that what you'd?
Yeah.
I would really bet that if you knew a banker in your community, that $100, $200 up front wouldn't even have to come.
Yeah.
And make the kids go talk to the banker.
That's what I
say. Here's our business plan.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of a jerk banker isn't going to fund the $200 per
And
team?
they're
we
former
need to get
students,
this
so they
going?
better give
Yeah.
us the money.
Or it could be their new employees, you know.
Yeah. And
Building your employee force.
you sit down and explain, and, you know, and maybe there's an adult to adult phone conversation to prep the things, but
Right.
I would make the kids go and do a presentation to them and say, we need, you know.
That'd be
the
number
numbers
6,
get-
effective written and oral communication.
Yeah.
But then, okay, then that goes back to that sales tax thing. If you're not running it through, we'd have to do, I mean, right? If we're selling a product, we'd have to charge sales tax, right?
If you get outside the school, yes.
Yeah. See, then there's,
Really not anywhere near as complicated as it sounds.
it's not, okay,
No.
thank you.
You can get online
You
right
do a
now.
webinar on that too.
You get
I
online.
need lots of
You can get
webinars.
you can get on the Department of Revenue's website and have now you need an entity.
Right.
And the bank is probably just, I would talk to the bank about that,
Okay.
or an accountant. Now, you are going to have to end up either filing for an EIN
Right.
or someone putting their social security number behind it. There has to be one of the two.
Right.
And that
Yeah.
social security number can just be Brenda, DBA, students doing this, right? Student project,
Uh-huh.
or anyone that wants to, or you're going to have to file for an EIN. I'm not 100% sure. I wouldn't talk to, you know, if you have a chamber of commerce. If I owned a business in your town, I would start a new business for you. Literally, I'd let you use my EIN and then start a DBA and get you a checking account on it. But that doesn't need to be the kids' part of it because we're cheating the system a little bit there. We're not cheating anything. We're not doing anything wrong. I'm just saying we're shortcutting for them. If you go to a bank, they're not going to let you open an account without some type of a taxpayer identification number,
Right.
which is either an employee's identification number or someone's social security. Those things are both really easy. You just have to pick your way of doing it.
Okay.
I think that there's some president of a bank that would just, in your area, that would love to be involved in this. They don't really do anything anyway. Presidents of banks are like the Queen of England, right? They don't do anything. They just float around in their figureheads. And this is the kind of thing they would love to be involved in.
Our experience, like if you have an accountant that works with yours, okay, this is my experience. They hate when you have a career day and they walk in and they talk to 20 kids and not one kid in the room wants to be that profession. They love it when your kid goes to them and says, tell me how to do this. I'm really interested. That the whole mentor thing, they're all over that. They love it. The career days they hate.
The only thing is as long as that person isn't a barrier. We don't want that person to ever say, well, if you were running a real business, this is what you do. Because that's what we actually want to do. Okay? Now, granted, we're not going to file and get an S Corp from the state of Kansas that costs $1,500 to register it. But if the accountant says if you were running a real business, then you need to look at him and say, we are, but we need another option. Because there's other options out there. We don't have to spend $1,500 to get an EIN. But we're going to do this. This isn't a fake playtime business. Quit telling us if we were running a real business. We are. And they're out there. The right accountants and bankers are out there. We just don't. I don't want anybody to look at the kids and go, if you're running a real business, this is what you do. But since you're just a group of kids playing a game, because we're not. They're running a real business. They could go under. It's not their money. No one's going to go bankrupt. You know, we've got all the safety steps in place to protect them, but they really are running a business. And I think there's a banker and, you know, somebody may need to sit down with an accountant. Maybe a great deal. They may need to learn how to use QuickBooks. You know, there's no barriers that aren't very easily overcome to pull this off.
Another thing about not running it through school accounts, like then we wouldn't have to get POs, wouldn't have to, right? I mean, that's a nightmare.
That's what I'm talking about. This is the goal of the whole thing. Is that's a barrier of us really doing this, and
So
it's
it probably would be better if it's went through your local bank. Yes, no, I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I really do.
That's where my booster club idea came from. Because most of, and I don't know if it's maybe 50-50, but there are booster clubs that operate completely separately from the school financially, and I know there's probably some that don't. That's where that came from, was the idea of, hey, booster club, if you let us tag on to, you know, whatever you've got going, and we just consider this chapstick a piece of spiritware, right? Financially, that's completely legal if that's an option, and they'll let you tell the booster club to go get a PayPal account, or, you know, and then it's really easy. We log in, you know, when you install a shopping cart, connect it to their PayPal
That's a
account.
part that I think I want our kids to learn, though. I don't know. I mean, I think that's a good idea, the booster club, but I think it'd be good for our kids to
Sure, yeah, I know.
experience that part.
The more real it is, the better their experience is going to be.
And then I guess my question would be, if you put it in a bank, and let's say, because we have a group of kids in marketing, and I have a group of kids in applied business, do I need 2 accounts, or can I have 1 account? And 2 different.
Well, I'm kind of thinking with my married kids, have 2 separate accounts and send them to separate banks. Someone can go to
That's a good idea,
international,
too.
someone can say.
Yeah, that way.
We're
I think they'll
2 different
compete and give
teams.
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah.
See,
Hey,
I
this
thought of
bank's
that
giving
too.
us
We have
300.
3.
What are you
You
gonna
can't
give us?
gavel
We'll
with
give you 5.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Play the
That's how it
banks.
goes.
Play the banks.
Yeah.
Well, you have to shop around. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody asked me, they said, well, how many kids on a team? Whatever it takes to run the business. You know, if it's the right 2 kids, 2 may be enough. What is that? These videos are not on the website yet, but they will be tomorrow. This is how do you install WordPress. This is how you change the theme, the look of it. Those kids that like doing that, you won't have to worry. They'll dig into it. They'll go to YouTube. They'll be doing your website stuff. I'm assuming you all have some kind of website class. No?
No.
No?
You have a website kid, though.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah, you got
do.
someone.
I have one that loves it.
And he may not be in your group.
He scares me though, because he can probably do things he shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Well, they're all that way.
Yeah.
We all are that way.
Yeah. And they may need to contract with a kid. You know, if nobody in your team has that, what do? Well, you find somebody with the skills you need.
And I think that I look at SDAC's role in this as, if you literally are banging, call us. Don't ever let any one thing say, all right, we're at a standstill, because we'll just make up some way to get around it. Steve's really good at that. Just like there's not going to be a barrier for anyone. That it's going to be an attitude barrier, not a real barrier that keeps this from moving forward for any of you, because we can bring the support on how to do. We're even going to, if you keep screwing this up, making the recipe, because we're about to make our first batch with the SDAC marketing team. In the big scheme of things, if you can't figure that out, we can come help with that. That's our reason for launching a team. We were going to try to be ahead of everyone, but Canton's just straight cheating.
No, we're not.
No, I'm just kidding. I think it's awesome. We want to try to be, in our minds, like a couple of weeks ahead of everyone. So when those questions come, we'll annoy the kids, because when they ask us how to do it, we're just going to facilitate it. But don't let any barrier keep you from moving forward with this, because we have the ability to just make up a way to fix it and then go with it and see if it works.
You guys would have died at our marketing meeting when we talked about we're actually going to build this website and do it.
Completely derailed my marketing meeting. We just went, all this other stuff we were worried about became secondary to the creative wackos on our marketing team.
Lori spent her lunch hour at the craft store.
Here comes Lori.
So, Lori, what have you done so far about the Duck Lips Dynasty?
Pull it up.
Kind of give them the story while I'm doing this.
We have a thing around here. Do you want the beginning, the whole deal, how we came up with Duck Lips?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a thing around here where a long time ago, evidently, someone thought SDAC was as duck. And so ducks kind of became our little symbol. So we had rubber ducks everywhere.
They're still everywhere. Now, if
Yeah.
you walk out there after hearing that, you're going to see that there's rubber ducks everywhere in this building.
And so when we talked about lip balm, it just kind of became, and duck lips, if you have any kind of a teenager at your house anywhere close, you know what duck lips are. The whole Facebook where they kind of pucker up and stick their lips out, it looks ridiculous, but that's the big thing. So duck lips, and then Duck Dynasty, of course. And so we just kind of took off on that whole thing and made it Duck Lips Dynasty.
I kind of gave away our flavors for
Oh,
males and females.
that's fine.
This site did not exist 2 days ago.
Mhm.
Yeah, so this was a WordPress that we threw up there. We're getting ready to install our shopping cart. Lori, have you got the materials to make our lip balm yet? You ordered it?
No, I found some at Hobby Lobby. It's really not what the recipe calls for, but I'm going to experiment with that. But I've got the others all ordered, and that was probably the most stressful thing that will happen, is trying to figure out where to get it and what to get and I mean, you just got to jump in and do it.
Yeah. What did you spend?
So far, I've spent about 130, but I was very generous in like sample flavors and stuff. I thought I might as well order more than I think I'm going to need and different flavors so that we can try it out.
Her kids found rum and Coke flavor.
Oh, there you go. Oh,
Well, you guys can probably do that. You're adults.
Steal that one. So Lori made the header.
And I'm working on that page right now. I changed, you can't really tell in here, but I changed the colors to be more of a camo color because we're going to use camo labels on regular camo on the guy flavors and pink camo on the girl flavors. I did my first blog post on my personal blog, and I'll do something on here later today, probably about the story of how duck lips came to be and all that. But I'm going to go through the process on my blog, my personal blog, and just keep updating this as well, and take pictures and document the whole way through.
I think the moral of the story is do something. Just do it.
Yeah.
Get it up there. Get your lip balm made. And when you go, oops, that didn't work.
Well, and like this is a WordPress site. I don't use WordPress. I use Blogger. So I did this morning, muddling my way through, trying to figure out what size images and what was a header and what was a tab and what was a blah, blah, blah. So, and any 12-year-old will probably do way better.
Yeah, if you're befuddled, find a middle school kid.
Anything else? Did I answer your question, Steve?
Yeah. Anything else for Lori that I didn't think of that you... How much material, how many lip balms can you make?
Well, the little paper that you gave me from
Walton.
Walton, she said she had ordered 8 pounds of wax and she had made 200 and some or 400 and some lip balms, and she still thought she had 7 pounds of wax left.
Oh.
So
Okay.
I have no idea. I'm guessing I ordered 5 pounds of wax. So we'll see.
Yeah, I literally think that you're going to be, and they need to figure this out, but I think you're going to be less than a nickel in ingredients, and then you're going to be somewhere around another nickel in, because were we down to 3 cents a piece on the, or was it 8 cents a piece on the tubes?
Yeah, I don't remember.
You're not going to go over 20 cents per tube completely done in actual expenses.
I figured up all my expenses, and that's ordering extras of stuff. I ordered 144 of the black and 144 clear tubes, and 5 pounds of wax, 4 different flavors, the little scraper tray, and then which I think sounds like an excellent idea. And I think I'm right at 20 cents a tube. I mean,
Right.
that's being very overly.
And that's with the tray, which some of them are, I mean, you can,
And all my flavors, which I probably won't use. I think I even ordered like 2 or 3 extra flavors. So I, coffee, bacon, peppermint. I might have ordered a cotton candy and wild cherry because that's what everybody in the office thought I needed to order.
And this is a picture right off of the website where they sell, these are the different containers you can get.
I ordered part of my stuff from Oregon Soaps and part of the stuff from the SKS Labs, which I found, okay, I found that website a little bit clunky, but got through it.
And I'll put those links on the website so that you can email this all. It'll all be on the website. That way it's all on the website too, right? I don't know if I saved it last year. I'll show it again before we leave. And make sure you subscribe to it, and anything that's posted, you'll get an update. Thanks.
Thanks, Lori.
And if anybody has any questions, they can always call me. I'm here all the time.
She's kind of liking the Duck Lips project too, I think.
Now, we're not getting into it at all.
Yeah.
Website.
That is actually the creative person that derailed our marketing meeting right there, because it was a neat experience.
There's the website, and if you go to news and updates, that just screams everything gets posted there. Right over on the side where it says subscribe here or subscribe now, if you put your email address in there, and it's ruralonlinebusiness.com, if you put your email in, it makes you authenticated, but then you get an email anytime anything is posted to this website. And give that to kids, anybody that you want to have a gift. It's just information. At the top of this, the recipe, the lip balm, and I'll need to change that. Lip junk is the stuff from, that's the recipe, some resources. This all came from the teacher at Walton. He was kind enough to give that to us. You can just get in there. I'm posting everything there. If you don't want to know any more about this, don't sign up for it. But if you want to just keep informed, then subscribe to the website. You may want to think about with your website also, are you going to keep new stories, new information? Do you want people that buy from you to subscribe to your website? If you're going to do that, you got to have regular information.
If you look at the recipe, I mean, they would have to be really, really busy and pressed for. I mean, I think if you get that tray is 30. Oh, okay, okay. But I mean, you get and obviously there's fire involved or an oven involved in heating it up. But if you have one of those trays, I mean, I think you're 5 minutes into making 15 of them. And there's two. There's if we do want to work. Oh, we talked about that. Or we do want to work in some type of a. We want to reward them somehow, you know. But there's 2 ingredients, 3 if you choose to flavor it. It's pretty, again, kindergartners, right?
What else can we answer for you? You know, one of the posts that I wrote and put in there is get comfortable with ambiguity. You're not going to know every answer up front, and you don't have to know every answer. You just got to help, you know, facilitate the kids figuring it out. And if it doesn't work, try something different. Just, you know, in the real world, that's what you do. You just don't want to make too many mistakes.
Steve, did you look at any of what CTE last semester? I mean, we're using applied business class. Have you looked at any of those competencies?
I did not, and I'll tell you what.
I wouldn't mind sitting down sometime and try to see if we're cross-referencing these all correctly.
I would love to do that with you.
Because we would want to meet like KSD's asking
Yeah.
us, but I think just by what I hear, it's going to happen anyway. I think all this learning's happening. Just want to make sure, and they're good to work with. They would probably even change if they needed to, if they see what this is doing.
Yeah. And at some point, I'll go up to Topeka and sit down with Jay Scott and show him the whole deal. I wanted to get going. I intentionally didn't look at the competencies. We came at it from what's it take to run a business, to be an entrepreneur. Now let's go back and see if there's any holes. There shouldn't be.
I don't really, I kind of looked at it, really basically a class where they use everything, they put it in real life.
Yeah.
So I think.
And I haven't read them. I have them here. I ran them off again.
Yeah, me too.
Did they say that we need to do one as a team and one as an individual?
It's like, are you running a business? Pretty much. Are you making management marketing decisions?
That's when they first put it out, you had to do one as a group. Yeah, that's good. I mean, but it does change.
Yeah. I really do appreciate you guys. We've had a lot of people that were interested, but they just were really reluctant to pull the trigger. And you might understand why.
How many others are doing that?
Well, I'm pretty sure Erie's going to have a couple of teams. You know, Erie's got project-based learning, and so they're just going to, who's interested in it, form a team and do it. Stafford is going to have one team to begin with. 2 young ladies are going to run it as their business at the Seed Center. McPherson College is going to have a team, but not till second semester. Sterling is going to have a team of adults that do it, which is going to be interesting. That could be a really fun group. They won't be nearly as advanced as your kids will be, I'm guessing, because your kids are going to be a lot more comfortable dealing with the internet. I think that when your kids finish this, they are going to have a really deep understanding of what to do. Now, they won't be perfect by any stretch, but they're going to have a much better sense of how do you actually run an online business. And hopefully, they're going to have, each individual kid's going to be able to say, what piece of this do I really like doing? Where do I want to focus my energy? What I would like to do in the spring is sit down with you guys and say, do we want to do lip balm again? If some kid is really enjoying this, do we just turn the business over to them? Do we pick another product for next year? How do you think we should proceed? We may end up doing kind of a hybrid, because if you get through this year and start to really feel comfortable, I can see you guys saying, we're going to do something, but we're going to pick a product locally and do it. I can also see more schools coming on saying, okay, we're level 1, we want to do the lip balm.
I think that would, from my perspective, the end goal would be that you guys continue on with something bigger, and we keep using this model as the entry point.
Kind of the first year.
Right. Where then you guys go, all right, we got this. Our kids got this, our teachers got this, we're going to grab some other local products, we're going to go bigger with this, and then we try and get, we really are going to want to document it. I mean, like, we may be in your classrooms with cameras and model release forms, videoing it. I mean, we want to say, because to me, I'm a huge fan of project-based learning and all the different variables of it, and I think this is a real example of, you don't have to completely reform your entire school system necessarily to do project-based learning. You can do these kind of things, and we want to use it as a tool on our end to show that you can just do projects instead of converting everything that you've done, and I think there'll be some great moments to capture on video with kids going, I had no idea you had to do, or you wouldn't believe everything I learned. I think those kind of things need to be caught so people go, oh, this is possible. And you don't have to be some $1 billion. I love that it's small towns. I mean, I'm telling you, because it's, you don't have to be some big $1 billion school district to do innovative things that are outside the box a little bit and give kids real knowledge.
Now, I think it's going to be interesting too, Lisa, for example, you may have an entrepreneurship class, a business class, but if you got a marketing class, how does that become part of this? Do the kids do enough in here? I mean, if you have 2 kids that do all the marketing for this, do they do enough? Do they hit all the competencies to get a marketing credit?
And I believe they will.
I think they will too.
I think as you look at the real world application of it, they're going to get the best possible marketing education that they can out of this. And I want them to try and have a great idea and try something and it kind of flop, and you don't sell any lip balm from it. And then we sit down and go, all right, here's the debrief. What went wrong? Why didn't this work? And it'll be cooler than some of the marketing classes that I've seen where it's all kind of theory and as opposed to practice.
We have a friend whose daughter graduated from K-State with a marketing degree, and Cody met with her, and because she got a job and needed the social media part, and spent several hours with her, walking her through and writing stuff down and taking notes. I asked her, I said, didn't you get any of this in a class? She said, well, we had about a 15-minute PowerPoint one time about this. I thought, yeah.
That's what I was just telling her. The guy at college is going to do this.
That's why I was thrilled that McPherson College was.
You have marketing professors at some of those places that have been marketing professors for 30 years that are still teaching the joy of a telegram to market your product. You know, and it's not a knock on them. They're just not getting, and nothing's changing faster. I mean, you know, there's things that were the hit in marketing 9 months ago that nobody can remember the name of them anymore because it's changed so fast. And that's why I think these type of projects where you may go and try some old school marketing thing and it just flop, you know, so then we sit down and figure out what's going to work now, and kids are really going to get it.
Nancy, any last thoughts, comments, questions? Brenda? Brent?
Thanks for doing this.
Oh.
I need it. Yeah, face to face.
That, you know.
I heard you guys should be.
Oh, right.
Oh, we already are.
We know.
Diana, thoughts?
Just curious, legalities, is there anything major scenario? What if we change the recipe?
Absolutely. Yes, there's legalities things. We've chosen a product and an environment that should be completely, the legalities that I would make sure you have a good plan for is the financial side of it.
Because see, if we use Max, Social Security,
Think how much more freedom you'd have in your day-to-day work.
Hey, I have freedom.
Oh, okay. The financial part of it is the part where you need to have a plan. And that's the one part that I see of, again, I'm a big fan of, hey, we're just a bunch of schools. We didn't know we were doing this wrong in the big scheme of things, but we ought to have sales tax. What do you mean sales tax? No, there isn't anything to be concerned or become a barrier, but you do need to think about the finance side of it. Be a learning experience.
It is a learning experience.
Max, go ahead.
I think through that, this recipe, if done the way it's said to be done, it's safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's when you start changing that, something happens.
It's with those ingredients, even if you screw up the recipe, it just is going to make it. If you put too much soybean oil in, it's going to be runny, right? And that's it. But no, yeah, it's 100% safe. Nope. I have no idea.
I don't know.
storage is going to be an issue. I mean, if you put it in a room that gets to 95 in the summer, my chapstick doesn't make it through the dryer very well.
Yeah. Lisa, last comments, thoughts? Oh, we're going to have a blast. If you can't have fun doing it, don't do it.
It's gonna even be fun.
Yeah.
I will do that.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are lucky your principals are here to, that run interference and understand.
Well, on the legalities if you have a coffee shop in a high school, there's a lot more chance of making somebody sick with that than there is. If that becomes a barrier with an administrator, be like, hey, you never know what those kids are pouring into the coffee pot. And
or the concession stand at the ball game.
Well, but my point is we took that step to make something in a machine and then have them drink it. It's a lot better. There's a lot more issues there potentially than there is with lip balm. Not lip balm, lip junk.
Lip junk. Goop. Hey, thanks for coming. Hey, Connor is on this website setting up a forum in there, and I will always answer your emails if I'm not in the middle of switching computers and losing a lot of my stuff. But when we get the forum on there, don't hesitate to put something in there so everybody sees it.